99?
Yeah, audio, channel 99.
Yeah,
Thank you.
all right. So hopefully everybody can hear us. We're gonna start the meeting, and we are gonna start with the prayer, and then we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we'll get into the roll call. So, I'll start with the prayer.
I'm standing up, you know.
Okay, does somebody have their, I can hear some feedback. Does someone have their radio or something? There you go, that's better.
Good.
So, dear God, today as the
Today
session
the
opens,
session opens, we pray.
we pray for your presence will be before us and
everyone who serves in the
decision-making
decision-making process of our city.
We pray for your directions, which will lead the
our
city to
city
be strong and unified. May we continue the legacy of our
founders.
May
May
we
we
be granted
grant
this day of
this
wisdom
day
to
the
make
wisdom
decisions
make
for which
decisions
be good for
good
the
for
city.
our city.
We
We
also pray
pray for your special
blessings for all
blessing
those who
on
are
all
working
those
to
who work to
transform
transform
our
our city,
make it a better
make it a better place to live and work.
Amen.
Amen.
We'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
To the flag
of the United
States of America,
to the
to
republic
for which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, now we'll try a roll call, Mr. Clerk.
All right, thank you all. Just, when I call your name, say present. Council Conway. He said,
I didn't hear him. Councilor Conway?
Council Drinkwater.
Present.
Council Elliott.
Present.
Mayor Leahy.
Present.
Council Mercia.
Present.
Council Noon.
Present.
Council Rourke.
Present.
Council Samaras.
Present.
Council Chow.
Present.
Council Conway. All right.
Madam Manager, if you're there, is there anybody available to try to call council?
Yes, I just texted him, and we will make certain someone reaches out and calls and make sure that he can get on the line.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
City clerk portion. So I need, let's see, a motion to accept and place on file the minutes of the Public Safety Subcommittee, March 10th, City Council meeting, March 10th, for acceptance. Sure, motion by Councilor Samaras, seconded by Councilor Drinkwater. I'm sorry, we had a moment of silence. I didn't hear from anybody, but I just had two names. We're just gonna take a minute and recognize a couple of people quickly. I'd like to have a remembrance for John Jack Sheehan Jr., Lowell resident, wife of Judith Sheehan. Moment of silence for John J. Nero Jr., husband of Patricia Gleason Nero. May they rest in peace. Thank you. 2-2. Vote to cancel city council meeting, waive the full reading.
Yeah, I think, Mr. Mayor, I think we'll hold off on that one because of the motion further down the line, so we'll hold off on that until we get down to the motion about going to the summer schedule.
Okay, thank you. Portion 3, communications from the city manager. We have 5 responses and 2 petition responses. I think for the 5 motion responses, if you have any specific questions, we'll try to answer those tonight, but if you could call the manager's office tomorrow, that would be good. And what we will do is ask the manager to speak at this point, and she's going to have the update on the coronavirus.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I did want to relate that it's my understanding that Councilor Conway is calling in. I don't know if he's already joined us.
Council Conway?
Okay, we'll continue to work on that, but I did get
Okay.
word that he was trying to call in.
Yeah, same here.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Did you
Thank-
hear me now?
Yeah, we're all
Yeah,
set,
thank you.
Dave.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and through you, Mr. Mayor, to the council and those listening at home. The first item on the motion responses tonight is the response on the coronavirus efforts. This is in response to a motion by Councilor Conway, and it's it is an update. As we all know, of course, this is a very ever-changing situation, but in response, I would like to give a summary. There is a summary in the packet this week, and I also have here that will people who will speak to this as well. First, we have Dr. Adam Weston from the Lowell General Hospital. After I give my summary, we would invite Dr. Weston to speak. Dr. Weston is an infectious disease specialist, and of course, Joanne Keegan, who is our interim director of public health in the city, who has been working day and night on this, and Joanne is available to speak as well. So with the permission of the council, I just wanted to go over some of the highlights. As everybody in the world knows at this point, we are in the middle of a pandemic, and in January, the reported cases of coronavirus or COVID-19 began to climb around the globe. And the Lowell Health Department began engaging in those efforts back in January to ensure the city of Lowell's preparedness on this. And that work included working closely with our partners, Lowell General Hospital, Trinity EMS, the Community Health Center in Lowell, as well as all of our key partners here in the city, the police department, the fire department, the emergency management, law, and my office. Let me just quickly give an update in terms of where we are as of this afternoon. As of this afternoon, there have been 12 confirmed cases of coronavirus in the city of Lowell. That count has been steadily growing over the last 2 days, which is reflecting the expansion of the testing capacity locally. According to the Department of Public Health, as of 4 p.m. today, there were 1,159 confirmed cases of the coronavirus in Massachusetts. And again, we expect to see these numbers to continue to grow over the next several days. The health department is made aware of each confirmed case in the city of Lowell by the Mass Department of Health, or DPH. And though we don't have much other information in terms of the public, but what is important to know is that when the city is informed through our health department investigates each case that we're notified of, and to notify those individuals to research and investigate, to determine who they may have encountered in a setting that might lead to transmission. And I know Joanne Keegan can provide a little more detail in a few moments. And so while the current number of confirmed cases in Lowell and Massachusetts may not be comprehensive given the limitations that we've had on testing that is being seen across the country, they clearly indicate the heightened threat associated with the transmission of the coronavirus locally, and underscore the importance of the recommendations and the precautions that have been given, and including social distancing. Both federal and state guidelines have recommended avoiding groups exceeding 10 people. You know, a week ago it was 25 in Massachusetts, and now that's been adjusted down to 10, and remaining 6 feet away. Staying at home, reducing trips outside your home to those that are absolutely necessary, and don't leave your home if you're sick. Hand hygiene, washing your hands often and thoroughly with soap and water for at least 20 seconds. I know these have been repeated, but they do bear repeating again, because if we want to flatten the curve, these are the measures that we have to employ. As a municipality, we are on the front lines of confronting this crisis. While grappling with the unfamiliar challenges that have been posed by the coronavirus, we have prioritized maintaining essential services to the residents so that we are not disrupting the residents amid the shifting circumstances that we're in. Let me speak briefly to the response efforts in Lowell. So the city was notified of our first positive case of coronavirus on March 15th, 2020. Since then, the health department has been closely monitoring coronavirus and has as these cases have climbed. And as I mentioned, working in coordination with our partners at Lowell General, at Trinity, the Community Health Center, and DPH. DPH is in constant contact with our health department and vice versa through conference calls and communications on an everyday, multiple times a day basis. Likewise, the guidelines coming from the Center for Disease Control, the federal agency, are also guiding these efforts. And also our own Emergency Operation Committee, the EOC, which is comprised of myself and people from my office, Chief Jeff Winward from the Fire Department, Chief Kelly Richardson from the Police Department, Joanne Keegan from the Health Department, Christine O'Connor from the Law Department, and George Rose from the EOC operations. We meet daily to review all the developments related to the spread of coronavirus and to consider the implementation of additional measures. On March 17th, we activated the Emergency Operations Center. The EOC, or Emergency Operations Center, will serve to assist Lowell residents in situations related to the coronavirus and to provide immediate response to inquiries related to the situation. The EOC will be operational from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., Monday through Friday until further notice. The EOC can be reached by phone at 978-674-4052. In addition, the city is observing and enforcing all guidelines recommended by the state officials aimed at reducing the spread of the virus. Our schools closed as of Monday, March 16th. City Hall closed to the public as of Monday, March 16th, and in-person workforce was reduced to essential employees as of yesterday, March 23. Focus has been on, again, maintaining the continuity of essential services while at the same time protecting the health and safety of our organization and our employees. On Monday, yesterday, Governor Baker ordered the closure of all non-essential businesses affected Tuesday, March 24th, today at noon, until April 7th, 2020, paired with an advisory that mass residents should remain at home, and this came from the Department of Public Health. Our inspectional services and police department will enforce this order, as that was what the governor had indicated. Enforcement will be done on the local level. Let me just mention a couple of other points for people listening at home. To obtain public information as it pertains here in Lowell, please look to lowellma.gov/coronavirus. This is on our city website. It is updated daily. Starting today, the city has begun posting the number of confirmed cases of coronavirus in the city on this page. Timely and up-to-date information is also shared through our media channels, as well as Facebook and Twitter. And you can follow, if that is your choice, Facebook and Twitter by, again, going to our website. Sign up for those followings if that's your choice. I also would like to urge people, again, to please sign up for Code Red. Code Red is a system that gets important and pertinent messages to our residents. It's a very easy thing to do. If you go to our website, go to the button that says Code Red, and it will walk you through it. But this way, think of it as a reverse 911, but you will get up-to-date and any very, very important information from the city when necessary. Just a couple of other points. Obviously, we're acutely aware of the coronavirus and what it has presented in terms of unprecedented public health challenges. But it's also a serious economic challenge to so many individuals, our residents, our businesses across the spectrum. The city's Economic Development Office has been working to compile resources for impacted businesses, and this task will continue long after the resolution of this public health crisis. I would also like to point out that it is of utmost importance that we protect our first responders. You know, several nearby communities have reported instances of first responders testing positive for coronavirus. The circumstances of their work pose distinct risks for exposure. In Lowell, police and fire departments have implemented measures to reduce exposure of our first responders to patients with flu or virus-like systems. And additionally, our dispatchers have enhanced scripts that they are asking people when they call into 911 to determine if there is a coronavirus-like symptom present. My last point, and then I will turn it over to our experts. I want to give great thanks to our partners in the city of Lowell and beyond. You know, there has been a remarkable shortage of things that are needed: personal protection equipment, masks of the N95 version. We are very fortunate in that we have, at least for now, an adequate supply. But we have an adequate supply partly because our health department has done a great job of having these resources to the point that we've been able to share them with some of our other partners, as well as donations from the Greater Lowell Technical High School, who donated gloves and other equipment to the first responders here in the city of Lowell. And lastly, I want to recognize the company Maycom, who just this afternoon I was notified had donated hundreds of N95 masks to our first responders. So everybody has stepped up, and this is making a huge difference. And I'm very grateful on behalf of the city to all of those who are partnering up and coming to the table in this time of need. So again, with the permission, I would respectfully turn this over to Dr. Adam Weston. Again, Dr. Weston, if you're on the line, we're very grateful for you taking the time of this very busy time to share some of your thoughts around coronavirus in the city of Lowell.
Yes, I'm here. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Doctor.
So, as you mentioned, you know, Lowell General is essentially the front lines at this point, and we've been taking kind of a two-pronged approach to our preparations, which have been ongoing and very extensive for what we expect to be an ongoing surge of patients. Our first prong has been preparing ourselves inpatient-wise for accepting a lot of these patients. So preparing new ICU space, staffing changes, ED protocols, coming up with appropriate protective equipment and protocols for that. So basically preparing for the incoming surge. We are starting to see kind of the tip of the iceberg over the last several days. As you mentioned, it's really starting to kind of pick up in terms of both inpatient and outpatient exposure. We think we are essentially as prepared as we're going to be able to be, although there's always something new every day. But as you mentioned, you know, this relative scarcity of PPE is going to become an issue eventually. We do have some adequate stocks in place, but they certainly will not last forever, and we have not heard of any ongoing efforts to actively resupply, and all of our normal vendors are completely out with no known resupply date. So we're all kind of working in somewhat of an island in some ways. We're getting some support from the state, but in terms of actual on the ground support, we're working kind of like Apollo 13. We're just trying to kind of do what we can with what we have. But I believe we're as ready as we're going to be. Luckily, due to our association with Tufts, we have now access to much more rapid and extensive testing. So we are no longer dependent on the DPH lab. So we are now getting more rapid turnaround in terms of testing, and because of that, we have opened up limited outpatient testing as well through a drive-through station at our main campus. That is available by appointment only through the primary care providers of these patients that are kind of helping us to screen who might be the most appropriate for testing. But we are beginning to see a significant increase in outpatient testing, and therefore, as you mentioned, we're going to be seeing a significant increase in confirmed cases. We suspect there probably has been a large pool of unconfirmed cases that we are now going to start to really get a full measure of in the coming days and weeks.
Mr. Mayor, how can we ask questions? Do we just...
I think we're gonna let the presentation go, and then we'll take some questions at the end.
Okay.
Okay.
And if I could, I'm sorry for speaking so much during a meeting, but I guess I have to. If you could just identify yourself before you speak, so that way they'll blast a picture of up on the LTC. And also, while you're listening, you can mute your phones, and once you want to talk, you can unmute your phones, because that gets rid of the background noise. Appreciate it.
Sure. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Doctor. And I would ask Joanne Keegan. Joanne, if you're on the line, if you could speak to the situation that I know you have been working on nonstop.
Thank you. And I just want to thank the City Council and the Mayor for recognizing the importance of having this meeting remotely. I think that, it's important what we're doing in terms of not just setting the example, but following the example of social distancing and staying at home. And so I thank you for understanding the need to have this meeting remotely. Just a couple of things. I think the manager and Dr. Wesson reviewed most of the points. I will say that we had a PH conference call at 3 o'clock today, and there were some positive information that came out of that. We do seem to have a feeling that there is finally some help on the way and some positive things that are happening. As Dr. Weston said, there's now some testing being made available. And DPH is finally, I think some supplies becoming available. There's some money that's coming from DPH to assist the local health departments. One of the issues that the health department is, we have 2 public health nurses. We normally have 4, but we have 2 unfilled positions. So we have 2 people doing contact investigation and case investigation. And DPH did say today that they are activating the Medical Reserve Corps of nurses, as well as a number of other steps at activating nurses that will be helping at the local level to do this intensive work of contacting the cases and interviewing and finding out who their contacts are and notifying those contacts and getting those folks in quarantine. And, the health department has been doing communicable disease follow-up for more than a century, but now it's public in terms of what exactly they do every day. And so these public health nurses are used to that. They've been great, working long hours, but it will be nice to hopefully have some other things that will help them in what they do every day, because timing is so important in terms of getting folks in isolation and or quarantine. And I think that everyone has pretty much covered the other items that I was going to mention, if anyone has any questions at the end.
So, Madam Manager, are you all set?
Sure. I think it would be appropriate, for if there are specific questions from the council, obviously, we wanted to highlight, kind of an update as to where we stand today, but certainly turning it over to the council for questions would make a whole lot of sense.
Okay, I think what we'll do is, it's a little complex, this meeting, so what we'll do is, I'll go right down the line. If you can make a comment, and then any specific questions we can get back to you on, but I don't know how, it's not gonna be that easy having specifically asking a question to the doctor or going back and forth to the manager or to the health department. So why don't we make our statements, and if it's a complex question, we'll get you an answer. So I'll go right down the line. Councilor Chow?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Madam Manager, for inviting Dr. Weston and Ms. Keegan to come speak. I think it's very important that we have an update on the health situation in our city. And I understand from your presentation, Madam Manager, that the city has enough supplies. That is great news. My question may be more for the Dr. Weston and Lowell General Hospital. Where are we as a region, as a city and in this region, as far as the number of beds and supplies and the ICU staff and so forth? How do we fare overall in the anticipation that the number of infected may increase?
Sure. So I can't speak exactly to number of beds, but actually in the hospital currently, our census is actually relatively low. Essentially a calm before the storm, as many people didn't kind of want to come to the hospital with all the hype around it. So we have a little bit extra availability now. We've done extensive work within the hospital to increase both ICU space as well as standard inpatient space. So we have now several stages of what we call surge planning to increase our capacity as well as our staffing. We put in what we call emergency credentialing to bring other doctors on board very quickly. And we are reaching out to our primary care provider partners as well to bring them on board to help out with inpatient care as well. So we have a variety of plans in place to kind of upgrade as need be. In terms of material and primarily with PE, we are relatively okay right now, but without a resupply, probably within the next 30 days, we're going to start running out of things, honestly. And so that's going to be an ongoing issue. We are doing our very best to manage and extend and decrease our usage of all of that PPE to the very best of our ability while keeping all of our staff as safe as possible. But there is a certain burn rate that you simply cannot get under to do these things safely. So it is very good news to hear that the DPH is starting to get some supplies. I did hear that as well as they're coming out of the strategic stockpile. So I'm hoping that we're going to see some of that in the near future.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Conway?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to thank the city manager and her team for responding to the motion that I put on back a few weeks ago. It was extremely important for the public to understand what we were actually doing in the community to make things safer against this coronavirus. And thank you, Madam Manager and your team for putting this very complicated and comprehensive report together. And I also want to thank Joanne Keegan and Dr. Wesson for stepping up and really filling the gap here to explain to not only to the council but also to the citizens of Lowell what is actually going on. And I thank both of you for that effort. You did a great job. Appreciate it. I will just very quickly say that Lowell has had a strong history of working together. And the city manager alluded to that, to make the city a safe and a more prosperous place to live. And you take the city council along with the city manager and a team, the public safety, healthcare, and the schools, and as we have just heard tonight, the business community, citizens doing their job, our places of worship, and other entities, all combining forces to fight against this virus, and we will win this war. There's no doubt about it. So again, I thank Madam Manager for her leadership during these extremely difficult times. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilor Drinkwater?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I just wanted to add my own appreciation for everyone's contributions to what is just an unprecedented situation, and certainly at the city level. Thank you, Madam Manager, for your efforts, and to Dr. Weston and Joanne Keegan as well. I thought the analogy to Apollo 13 was an apt one, and everyone is just doing the absolute best they can with what we have. And certainly a lot of appreciation for the work going on there, and also, I guess, proves that everything comes back to Tom Hanks, and we all hope he's doing well in this situation. But I did want to ask one specific question related to the equipment. I know that the hospital and the city are doing the best to procure protective equipment, but I know there's also been a lot of discussion around the availability of ventilators if the number of cases does increase, and I was wondering if there was any information on just the availability of ventilators within the hospital and within the city to respond to this. Thank you.
Doctor, I was going to suggest you
Dr.
answer.
Weston.
Absolutely, yeah. So my understanding is that we currently have 31 ventilators that are fully kind of our standard ventilators at Lowell General, with the capability of transforming some of our anesthesia machine, probably another 5 to 10 into standard ventilators as well. So we're probably looking at approximately 40 ventilators that we can run at this point. And we have surge capabilities in terms of transforming traces into ICU spaces to accommodate that amount of patients. And that is well above what we would normally have within our facility. Normally we'd have 10 to 12 patients ventilated at any given time. So we do have some significant capability, but if we start getting beyond that, we're going to be in trouble.
Councilor Drinkwater?
Thank you very much again to all, and that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilor Elliott?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Joanne Keegan, all the first responders. Terrific work being done throughout the city. I just had two quick questions. I think, Madam Manager, you did mention that you work in concert with Mental Health and Lowell Community Health Center. I think that's important. But getting back to the test, Doctor, how many tests per day are you conducting, and how many, if you know this information, how many tests are turning out to be negative?
So we started up outpatient testing over the past weekend. It is by appointment, so I think we're running roughly about 36 to 40 potential slots in terms of appointments. I don't know if every single one of those slots has been filled. As you might guess, the vast majority are turning out negative. There's only been 12 confirmed cases in Lowell, as mentioned. So the vast majority are still turning out negative. But I think we are going to start seeing that relatively change in the near future. Although even in South Korea, they were doing 10,000 tests a day, and only 3 or 4% of those were actually turning out to be positive.
Right. No, that's good news. Is there a plan to increase the ability for residents to get tested further? You say by appointment only. Any thoughts about drive-up?
So this is a drive-up test.
It is.
But we're using the appointment, 1, to space it out appropriately so you don't have a line of cars going out the door, 2, to appropriately screen the right patients for testing. So it's coming from the doctor's offices that are aware of these patients. They know their patients. They are writing the order and saying this patient should be tested for coronavirus. So
good.
we're using that as kind of an initial screen.
I think that's an important message to get out to, the residents in the city that's by appointment and it's being done on a priority basis, i.e. Senior citizens and those that are at most risk. Okay.
Exactly
Great.
right. So you need to make sure that if you do feel like you need to be tested, you need to contact your doctor. We do not have the full kind of community-wide testing capability, and primarily our limitation there is our availability of actual swabs to get it done. So we did procure a significant supply coming from Tufts, which allowed us to kind of loosen our restrictions a little bit, but it's not quite the supply that we would need to kind of do widespread hundreds per day community testing.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you,
Could I
Dr.
just add to
Nguyen.
that, Joey and Keegan, could I just add to that? So we are hearing from DPH some strong suggestion that a large amount of swabs will be coming soon. And for patients that don't have a primary care provider, Lowell Community Health Center has offered a process to call them and set up someone there to do some triaging to assess whether that patient would be appropriate for testing.
Great. That's very important. I think that's great news for those who don't have a primary care physician. So, again, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And just one last comment to you, Madam Manager. On Saturday, I just wanted to let you know the school department was very receptive to allow the use of a printer to make masks at the Green Oak School. So, an example of everyone just jumping in. And these masks were made, that they're produced, and they were used at Lowell General Hospital for the nurses there. So,
Great.
thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Sure, Councilor Mercia?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. First off, I want to compliment the team for putting this report together. In your wisdom, Madam Manager, I have the utmost faith that whether there be a motion or not, you would have provided us with an up-to-date report as to this virus. I'm certainly sure of that. And my question would be, my other concern is with the school nurses. Can we fully utilize school nurses and assign them to make sure that the work environment is safe in other departments other than schools, especially at this time of concern in the workplace, not just in the schools? Can we look into the possibility of that? Because I wanted to know what type of protocol is in place with regards to this issue when there is an emergency such as this magnitude. So I don't know if we have something in place, but
Yeah,
if we could.
We do, Counselor, and we under the collective bargaining agreements, when there is an emergency, school nurses who are not working in the school right now can be redirected to help in the effort that the health department is underway. As I think Joanne Keegan pointed out, our health department, we have 2 public health nurses, but there's a tremendous burden on the health department because they not only have to contact anyone who has been identified as a positive coronavirus case, but also all of their potential contacts, whether it's their employment or family or people they've had contact with and advise that they may have to go into quarantine. So it's a lot of investigation, a lot of phone calls. We are in the process of making all of those facilities available where nurses could assist in that and in a very safe environment, be it at the health department or at our emergency operations center. So we are in the middle of working on all of that, Counselor. Thank you for the question.
Yep, thank you so much. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Noon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First off, I want to thank the managers in time of crisis, and you step up, and you and your team, especially the emergency response team led by Chief Winwood, and also want to thank Dr. Weston and Joanne Keegan, especially Dr. Weston, for coming in and just share with us, some of the important points that we as a community and the council need to know. I think, preparedness is important. I know that a number of questions being already answered. And the one thing that I too share with Councilor Elliott is the testing. What I heard from Dr. Weston is that those who would like to be tested need to contact their doctors, and then they will get tested. Is that correct, Dr. Weston?
Correct. If the doctors feel that they are appropriate for testing.
So it's up to the doctor too. If the doctor said they're appropriate for testing, they can be tested. And where do they go have that test, doctor? If they go to Harvard Vanguard, do they go to Lowell General to do that, or how does it work, doctor?
So yeah, there's an established protocol. They contact their doctor, and then if the doctor feels that is appropriate, they are provided with a doctor's order, and then the doctor refers them to our testing center, which will then help them set up an appointment. It is a drive-up appointment at the main campus of the Lowell General, and there's all kinds of specific instructions of exactly how to do it. Generally, results are within 1 to 2 days.
I see. So doctor, the test, the turnaround in terms of the result, how long does it take, doctor, for the test, the result to come back, doctor?
Like I said, about 1 to 2 days.
1 to 2 days. I see. Okay. So from what I heard from Joanne, that the DPH going to have more testing coming down, very soon. Is that correct?
That's what we're hearing today, that there's going to, the DPH has secured some testing swabs, and they should be coming our way.
That's very encouraging, because really is the number that we've seen now, we heard now from the manager is 12, but I think the number, after testing, will be far outreach that. So we hope for the best, and I thank the manager and her team for working, nonstop and to take care of this. And so, Mr. Mayor, thank you for the time.
Thank you. Councilor Rourke?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have a quick question for the manager. Madam Manager, I've seen over the past week or so, Boston, Worcester, Somerville, Walpole, they have declared state of emergencies just for their town or city. Have you given any thought to that proclamation?
Yeah, I actually, thank you, Councilor, for the question. I have met with the law department and asked for opinion regarding that, and we can provide the council with the opinion. In short, we don't have that under our current ordinances, on the other hand, or in the charter, but on the other hand, the fact that there is a state of emergency as well as federal would render the city one moot. We don't have, there's no real practical effect of a city state of emergency, where what we have in place is a state of emergency by the governor. And I think the main reason people look for state of emergency is so that they are eligible, if they're not otherwise, for things like FEMA monies and reimbursements, which we are, and we've already been contacted, and we are getting money from the state. And we have also, through George Rose and our team, lined up what we need to do to recoup monies in connection with fighting the virus.
Yeah, that was the main reason for the question. Is I've read that other town managers or mayors have done that for the purpose of for money coming back
right
after this is over. So as far as the rules concerned, we're all set with that?
We're all set with that. Yes, we are all set with that. At some point, we may want to have a discussion about an ordinance similar to Worcester's, because I guess it's possible there could be a state of emergency that only affects the city. But in this case, it's not necessary based on our charter, where the governor has declared a state of emergency. We're covered in terms of what we may have for resources coming back.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Samaras?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, Eileen, I want to thank you as city manager, for you and your team, for the work that you're doing. Joanne, thank you for basically taking over your job in the health department. It's great to have some of your experience to be there. And Dr. Wesson, thank you for Lowell General being there. I mean, this is a problem that has no equal. So I'm just very appreciative of what you've done. Most of my questions have really been addressed, but the issue when you talk about the ventilators, I think maybe because of my age, I talk to a lot of seniors, and the one issue that frightens them is what they've heard about Italy, where there were not enough ventilators all around, people having to make choices. I mean, I know we can't predict that. Thing is, two questions in the sense: does the Lowell Community Health have ventilators also, or what plans are there to obtain more ventilators if that was necessary? I mean, Dr. Weston, I don't know, anybody, can that be addressed in any way, or?
I mean, right now, it's wherever anyone can get them. You know, if you try and find any suppliers right now, everyone's out. So we'd be dependent on either the federal government or some other new manufacturer to be able to come through. In terms of not having enough ventilators, we're very much hoping that we do not get to this point, but in the dire circumstance that we do have to make some of these difficult decisions, we are coming up with a very clear and established ethical committee and guidelines to help guide us in those situations. But that's going to be the worst of the worst case scenario. But we are being prepared for the worst case scenario should it come to pass.
Okay, thank you for that. And one of the question was asked about the availability of beds. Now, we have a major university in the city that has, great dorm space and things like that. Things like that considered if that was to be necessary, or would there be the building of an emergency bed, tent type situation? Has that been considered? These are just things that people are asking, because we are, even though we're not Boston, but we are a pretty good sized city,
No, you're absolutely right. So we are not in this. We do not believe we're going to need space beyond our four walls, so to speak. We do have a number of what we call surge plans to move into spaces that have been either lightly used or unused prior, and move into those spaces for additional patient care areas. And we have a number of stages that we can kind of invoke as the surge continues, depending on the level of surge.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for allowing me to have those questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further, Madam Manager, before we move on?
No, I just, again, want to thank everybody, the council, the Dr. Weston, Joanne Keegan for an outstanding job, and the entire emergency operation team who've been working round the clock, as I said, Chief Winward, Chief Richardson, George Rose, the health department, my staff, everybody has been working nonstop, and I think to reiterate what has been said here tonight by all of you, together, this is how we're going to pull through.
Thank you. So again, thank you, Dr. Joanne Keegan, everybody over at the EOC and the manager's office. Great work. Any other pressing questions on the motions or petition responses before we accept them? Go, Councilor Mercia.
No, that's all right. I think it's the next part. I'm concerned about 2-1, so that's fine. Thank you.
Okay. So I need a motion by Councilor Mercia, seconded by Councilor Samaras to place these motions on file. 3.3, communication, accept the resignation of David Ellingson, Lowell Commission on Disability. Motion to accept and place on file by Councilor Drinkwater, seconded by Councilor Conway. All those in favor?
Could I comment on that, please?
Sure, thank you.
All right. There is a person that was as well. He resigned, but his resignation never came before the council. If we could check on that. Jeff Wilson, I know he resigned from the Commission on Disabilities, and he did not. He tells me that it never came up.
We'll check on that. I thought it did. We'll double check.
Okay.
But yeah, he did because of his job, and he's done a great job on that committee. But we'll check and see.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have votes by the city manager. 4.1, vote to accept and expend urban grant from Executive Office of Housing and Economic Development. Permission to waive the full reading, second reading by title, motion by title. Commonwealth of Massachusetts, City of Lowell, and City Council vote authorizing city manager to accept and expend the urban agent grant to support economic development in collaboration with our partners at South Middlesex Opportunity Council. to be administered by the Department of Planning and Development and the Office of the City Manager.
Mr. Mayor?
Sure, yes.
If I could just speak briefly to this. This is a grant, and I want to give credit to Planning and Development. As the council knows, we've been working closely with the Lowell Transitional Living Center through the task force and trying to implement changes at the Transitional Living Center to improve conditions for people there, as well as to provide 24-hour service, as well as to try and help people get housing as well and work. This grant application, and if you'll just let me give you a couple of minutes of explanation. You know, it was a last-minute Planning and Development saw it. It came through the economic development side of state government, and they saw an opportunity to apply for some money that we could then work with SMOC, with the Transitional Living Center. They applied. It was last minute. They came in. We got it in under the wire, and they were awarded $100,000. And the Transitional Living Center was very delighted because they need these resources to make the improvements down at the shelter so that we can do some of those things. We were told in the past couple of days that as long as we are working together with the goal of the original grant, we can work with the Transitional Living Center to try and address some of the issues that we are facing because of the coronavirus. So that's very good news. We're excited about this grant. I know SMOC is very excited about this $100,000. And again, credit to Planning and Development for seeing that opportunity.
Are you all set, Madam Manager?
I am.
Okay, thank you. So I need a motion to adopt by Councilor Rourke, seconded by Councilor Samaras, and we need a roll call.
Council Conway.
Yes.
Council Drinkwater.
Yes.
Council Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Leahy.
Yes.
Council Mercia.
Yes.
Council Noon.
Yes.
Council Rourke.
Yes.
Council Samaras.
Yes.
Council Chow.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Thank you. 4-2, vote to authorize city manager to expend project funding agreement with MSBA. Waive the full reading and second reading by title. Commonwealth of Massachusetts, City of Lowell, in City Council vote authorizing the city manager to execute the project funding agreement in between Massachusetts School Building Authority and the City of Lowell relative to the accelerated repair program. Need a motion to adopt by Councilor Mercia, second by Councilor Noon. Anything on this, Madam Manager, before we roll call?
No, this is in support of those projects that we have we're designing, that we're planning to have installed, the boilers and the roofs this summer in advance of the next heating season. So very good news for all these schools.
Thank you. Roll call?
Council Conway.
Yes.
Council Drinkwater.
Yes.
Council Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Leahy.
Yes.
Council Mercia.
Yes.
Council Noon.
Yes.
Council Rourke.
Yes.
Council Samaras.
Yes.
Council Chow.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Thank you. 4-3, vote to authorize city manager to expend tax increment financing agreement, Legacy Hotel LLC. Permission to waive the full reading, second reading by title. Commonwealth of Massachusetts, City of Lowell, in City Council vote. Approving certified project application for Athenian Corner Real Estate Holdings LLC and authorizing a tax increment financing or TIF agreement for the City of Lowell, for the Lowell Legacy Hotel LLC. Before we adopt the motion, if there are any questions, we can call or reach out to Mr. Panos, and if there are not, we'll just proceed with them adopting.
All right, if I could, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Panos should get in contact with me. I have his number if you want me to reach out to include him here. He says it's not necessary unless you have questions as a body.
Mr. Mayor, I'm happy to give a summary of what this TIF entails, if that's the
Sure,
wish of
that
the
would help,
council?
thank you.
Okay, just quickly, this is the Lowell Legacy Hotel, a tax increment finance agreement. The project, it consists of constructing a 57-room boutique hotel in downtown Lowell. It also includes renovating and expanding the existing Athenian Corner restaurant. Under the TIF agreement, the plan requires the retaining of the current 3 full-time jobs and creation of 45 new permanent full-time jobs, which will include hotel, food and beverage staff. This is a 10-year TIF, but with regard to the job creation, the new jobs, 30 would be created in the first year, 2 in the second, 3 in the third, 5 in the fourth, and 5 in the fifth. So the total 45 number of new jobs would be created in the first 5 years of the TIF. And those would have to be retained throughout the life of the TIF agreement. This is a $14 million project in downtown Lowell. So it's job creation as well as the improvement in terms of the downtown and the tax base. The TIF is the exemption starting in year 1 starts at 100% and goes down to 10. I think it's important to point out the following about TIF agreements because I think sometimes there can be a bit of a misunderstanding. There is a baseline tax that will apply, and then the TIF agreement, so there will be taxes paid. And without getting too detailed, let me just give you an idea. So over the course of the 10 years, because this is what oftentimes people ask, what is the amount of the tax benefit under the TIF? It would result in an estimated savings of about, I think, $139,000, strike that, $164,000 over the course of the TIF. However, it would result in new taxes to the city of Lowell over that same period of a $1,396,747. So, and I apologize. I had said 100. It would be 1,649,000 and change over the 10 years. So there would be tax waiver of a portion each year, but there would be a net tax increase to the city of Lowell, as well as having all the job creation. So those are some of the high points of this TIF. We're recommending supporting it. Again, one of the first hotels, and certainly first boutique hotel in downtown Lowell, and something that we believe would be very beneficial.
Thank you, Madam Manager. So I need a motion by Councilor Elliott, seconded by Councilor Drinkwater. Any questions?
Mr.
Yes,
Mayor, this is Rodney Elliott.
Sure, Rodney, for Councilor Elliott.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank the manager and the staff for putting this together. I think this is an exciting development that's coming to fruition. I plan to support this for the reasons that were mentioned. It's a $14 million investment in the downtown that will continue the revitalization. There is a need for hotel space down there, so I think this is going to address that need. But more importantly, jobs and more tax revenue in the city coffers. So I think this is a huge step forward to continue the development of the downtown, and especially with this $14 million investment. So, job well done, Madam Manager.
So, Mayor, this is Councilor Noon.
Sure.
Mr. Mayor, this is Councilor Noon. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I concur with Councilor Elliott. I walked by there, drove by there for so long, and I said, what's going to happen? When is this hotel is going to happen? For years now. So I'm glad that something happened there, and I'm glad that especially the hotel, because when people come to Sonkers Arena for the convention and whatnot, there's no hotel in the city below. Well, you have the Intercontinental Center, but that's full of this UMass Lowell students, basically, most of the time. So I think having this hotel at this place is fill up this vacant lot and make it, as economic development for that downtown. And so whoever stay there is going to wandering around those restaurants in the downtown. So this is a good thing for the city, creating creating taxes for the city. And I support manager wholeheartedly for bring this at this time. So thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Councilor Mercia.
Sure, Councilor Mercia?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm so excited about this project. This is a great family that stuck with the city for many, many years, provided good service, good food, hospitality, and now they're going to expand. How could you not support this project? But I'm looking forward to know what's the timeline for the start and how long would this project take to complete?
Andrew?
Yeah, thank you, Counselor. I believe, let me go through my notes, but I believe we were looking at the project to be completed, hold on, I believe it would start by the end of this year and be completed within 2 years. I'll stand to be corrected if someone texts me, but I think that's roughly what the time frame is for the project.
Yes, thank you very much. Thanks for everybody that worked on this project. It's really needed in the city, and I look forward to it beginning. Thank you.
Thank you. Roll call?
Counselor Conway,
Yes.
Counselor Drinkwater,
Yes.
Counselor Elliott,
Yes.
Mayor Leahy,
Yes.
Counselor Mercier,
Yes.
Counselor Noon. Counselor Noon? Counselor Rourke,
Yes.
Counselor Samaras,
Yes.
Counselor Chow.
Yes. Sorry.
9
Sure.
yeas.
Thank you. 4-4, vote license agreement, Jackson Street, 291. Permission of, full read, second reading by title, Commonwealth of Massachusetts, City of Lowell, and City Council vote, authorize the city manager during a license agreement with Hampton Canal, principal office at 1 Washington Mall, Suite 500, Boston, Massachusetts, for the use of the city's 291 Jackson Street, parcel 5, for the purpose of field office, staging area, and parking for construction-related personnel. We have a registered speaker, I believe.
Yes, I think we're gonna tie him in right now, Madam Manager. It's from Wind Development.
Yep.
Okay.
Hey, good evening, ladies
Here he
and
is.
gentlemen. Good evening. This is Matt Curtin with Wind Development. I certainly appreciate everyone's time this evening in light of all the challenging circumstances and affording me an opportunity to speak. Madam Manager, to you, of course, your team at DPD, especially grateful for all the effort thus far on parcels 8 and 9. As many of you know, we recently began construction on parcels 8 and 9 here about 2 weeks ago, which will be 125 units of residential housing, as well as 5,000 square feet of commercial space. One of the challenges that we're obviously encountering, as you're all very familiar with on an urban infill project, like many are in Lowell, is space is extremely limited. And one of the things that we found in working with our general contractor, Keith Construction, of course, is that our present staging area on parcel 8 was going to become prohibitively constricted as the buildings started to go up. In the city, we identified parcel 5, which happens to be 291 Jackson Street, as a possible alternative to allow for our construction office, staging area, parking that would also relieve demand on the adjacent garages. We are committed to returning parcel 5 to the city in a better condition in which we found it, as delineated in the license agreement. We're committed to making some permanent improvements to the site and ensuring that the city's asset management team feels satisfied with the condition in which we turn it over. Again, I wanted to thank everyone for their consideration of this. I do think this is vital for us to stay on schedule And with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Matt.
Sure. Mr. Mayor,
Sure. Who's this?
Councilor Rourke.
Okay, sure, Council Rourke.
So I have a question, and only because I know from being over there now for about a month or so, that parcel 5 is an area where I believe many residents from Appleton Mills use for parking. So has there been any talk with the residents that live there or some mitigation for parking?
Thank you, Councilor. So some of the residents, they've been parking there, though it hasn't really been an authorized use. They haven't been paying for parking. It's been kind of just used because it's a dirt parking lot right now. But we have been in conversation. I know the parking department with some of the folks there regarding trying to offer alternate parking for them. Most of the time it's weekends and evenings, so we are working with, as I said, there's no official list of people who park there, but we are working with some of the residents down in that area on Jackson Street.
Yeah, so, understanding that this is a great project, support WIN 100%, but with the traffic problems that are already there now, you're going to be putting about 75 more vehicles somewhere, right? And the Jackson Street garage is full. There's basically no other place to park. But those people that live there, I mean, they drive vehicles, right? So where does the city foresee them parking?
Yeah, we and the parking department has been working with them. I mean, by and large, what's happened is some of the construction workers have parked there during the day, just again without any organized way that they were parking there, and then residents in the evening and weekends. There really is not a problem on evening weekend having parking. So as I said, in particular the Appleton Mills, I know Terry Ryan has been working with the folks there to talk about alternatives for them if they want garage parking.
Okay, and then my last question is, and I know that we have another potential buyer for the remaining parcels that are available. What happens if, say, a month from now, parcels 1, 4, 5, the rest of them purchase? What happens at that point in time?
So this is a license agreement. So in other words, it allows the city some flexibility to work with WIN and any potential purchasers on a mutually agreeable timeline. So depending on who the purchaser was and what they wanted, I mean, as we've talked about previously with the council, there is interest from one company who presented to the council, the Poli companies. The early discussions, it doesn't appear to pose a problem because of what they're anticipating, but that's a project that has yet to be approved and has to go to the council at the appropriate time. So, but the license agreement does give us flexibility.
All right, I'll just ask, maybe, a month from now, I know you're very busy with other stuff, but maybe within the next 4 or 5 weeks, if Mr. Ryan could reach out and maybe give us a report on the available parking for the residents at Appleton Mills, that'd be great.
Yeah, and as I said, he's been working with them. I've seen the communications back and forth over, recently. So we will continue to work with them and try and make sure that if they want parking in a garage, as a resident, we can try and put them in the appropriate spot. And of course, fingers crossed, our own garage will open.
Thank you. So,
Mr. Mayor.
Sure, Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the city manager, Eileen, is this the parcel that is leased to UMass Lowell, or is that another one?
No, it's if you look at 110 Canal Place, this is directly across the street from it, and the parking lot that, if you're looking at 110 Canal, the parking lot that UMass Lowell leases is to the left, that large area.
So it's left parcel 5, right?
It's parcel 5. It's a dirt lot right now. You'll sometimes see cars parked there, and.
But I mean, UMass Lowell, where they lease, it's left of parcel 5, is it?
It's less. You mean smaller?
Well, no, it's to the left of.
To the
parcel 5
left.
that we're talking
Yes,
about right
yes,
now?
correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, that's, I just wanted to, it's not the same, so that's
Yeah,
fine.
no, it's not the same spot. UMass Lowell will
Okay,
continue
thank
to
you.
lease the other spot.
Yep, that's fine.
Thank you. Motion by Councilor Conway, second by Councilor Chow to approve. Roll call.
Council Conway.
Mr. Mayor,
Sure.
this is Rodney Elliott. I have a couple of questions.
Sure, Councilor Elliott.
Thank you. Through you to the manager, just following up on Councilor Rourke's point about parcel 5, Madam Manager.
Yep.
I understand that I did read section 14 that allows the city to terminate for any reason, but once the area is cleared, I'm a little concerned that we're tying up this property for close to 2 years. And, you know, what if there is an opportunity from all accounts that we've heard that, you know, parcel 5 is a desirable parcel to be developed.
Yeah.
You know, what if that does happen? Where does the staging area go to?
Well, it would depend at what point in time. I know the conversations have taken place with wind development. So, for instance, if one of their buildings was already up and we needed to access that lot, there may be less of a need on at that point in time. So, it is a situation that we've had frank conversations with wind about currently, right now, which is their greatest need because of the preparing the site and so forth. You know, that's why parcel 5 comes in, but it is something that we have talked to them about.
Okay, I just don't want to put us in a bad place, and I understand the premise behind this. I understand the quarters are tight down there, and I looking forward to seeing both 8 and 9 being developed. But by the same token, we don't want to place ourselves, the city, in a position where, you know, if there is somebody interested in that, we have to,
right.
You know, there's some challenges even before getting there. So
no, that's absolutely right.
But, you know, hopefully, it'd be nice to be able to develop parcel 5, and
right.
If there are some contingency plans, that's good to know.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Roll call.
Council Conway.
Yes.
Council Drinkwater.
Yes.
Council Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Leahy.
Yes.
Council Mercia.
Yes.
Council Noon.
Yes.
Council Rourke.
Yes.
Yes.
Council Samaras.
Yes.
Council Chow.
Yes.
9 yes.
Thank you. 5, orders of the city manager. 5.1, order of 60-day trial various. Permission to waive the full reading, second reading by title. Commonwealth of Massachusetts, City of Lowell, in City Council, order pursuant to Chapter 266 of the Code of Ordinances, City of Lowell, Massachusetts, concerning Section 266-6, therefore entitled Temporary Experimental Regulations. Temporary traffic regulations are hereby implemented for a period of up to 60 days. I need a motion by Councilor Samaras, seconded by Councilor Noon. Roll call.
Council Conway.
Yes.
Council Drinkwater.
Yes.
Council Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Leahy.
Yes.
Council Mercia.
Yes.
Council Noon.
Yes.
Council Rourke.
Yes.
Council Samaras.
Yes.
Council Chow.
Yes.
9 yes.
Thank you. Reports, I don't believe there's any subcommittees. So we have 6.1, wire inspection, National Grid request installation of 50 feet of underground electric conduit at Bridge and Front Street. Just need a motion to adopt and accept the accompanying order by Councilor Chow, seconded by Councilor Drinkwater. All those in favor? All those in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
6.2, wire inspection. National Grid requests permission to install 10 feet of underground electric conduit at Prescott and Merrimack Street. Motion to adopt and accept accompanying order by Councilor Noon, seconded by Councilor Rourke. All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
7, petitions. We have one claim, property damage, motion to refer to Law Department for a report and recommendation by Councilor Samara, seconded by Councilor Mercia. All those in favor? Seven,
Mr.
Yep.
Mayor,
sure.
did we just do the handicap parking spots?
Not yet. Not yet.
Oh, not yet, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I want to speak on that when the time comes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. 7.2, miscellaneous. Renee and Maria Cascacillo request updating crosswalk at intersection of Keene and Gorham Street. Motion to refer to transportation engineer for report and recommendation by Councilor Chow, seconded by Councilor Elliott. All those in favor? And
Aye.
here we are, 7.3, miscellaneous. Sidith Kutch, for the benefit of Sambo Mark and Fernandi Lau, request installation of handicap parking sign 682 Broadway Street. Councilor Mercia?
Yeah, thank you. This is an unusual request because I never seen anything like this before. This lady is requesting 2 handicap parking signs in the front of her house where 2 people are handicapped. And my heart breaks for her, but is this a possibility, do you think? I was wondering, Christine O'Connor isn't there, is she?
No, we'll look at that. I had the same question, but we'll look at that and see if that is even possible. But
Okay.
we'll certainly
I just
investigate
wondered.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just wondered about it. All right, thank
Good
you.
question.
Thank you. So I need a motion to refer to the transportation engineer for report and recommendation by Councilor Drinkwater, seconded by Councilor Conway. All those in favor? 7.4, miscellaneous, think about Young, for the benefit of Jeff Malas. Tough names tonight. Request installation of handicap parking sign at 740 Lawrence Street. Motion to refer to transportation engineer for report and recommendation by Councilor Noon, seconded by Councilor Rourke. All those in favor? 8, city council motions. 8.1, Councilor Noon, request city council cease meeting in person in person for meetings and find an online or telephonic method to convey until coronavirus threat has ended. Just shout out somebody, seconded by,
I'll do that.
sure, Councilor Mercia, Councilor Noon.
Mr. Mayor, the motion is moot now since we started tonight's meeting by a teleconference.
Yeah.
So, yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You're welcome. I'm glad I could help. 8.2, Councilor Noon, request city manager appoint a coordinator of services to work with nonprofits and volunteer organizations who are assisting residents with needs resulting from the current health crisis. Coordinator would direct residents to group best suited for aid. Seconded by Councilor Conway?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Noon?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think the motion has to do with, I know that the manager has the emergency response team and they are doing a great job already. And, I know that most of the department head is part of this emergency response team. I think there's the other part of the community that we are unable to reach, or maybe the manager is already doing that. The reason I filed that motion to say maybe someone from any department that managers see appropriate, appoint that person, and not about hiring somebody, people already there, to work with nonprofit and or volunteer group, because I got a call the last week or so, a number of calls from nonprofit and volunteer people to say, what can I do to help? So some of those needs would be like, say, someone need, pick up groceries from basket to drop off at their door, sort of, some of the elder. I know that we do have elder service, but the elder service do as much as they can, the program that we have for the city senior center. So this is kind of help that we needed, someone who needed with babysitting, daycare or something like that, or even to the extent that now we do have, some of the homeless people, right? That I know that the last week the school department have been, giving food, breakfast and lunch to some of those students that normally if they go to school they receive it. In this case, what I heard is that more than 50% of the students don't come and pick up those lunch or breakfast. So a lot of the homeless people also need this food. So maybe this coordinator can help with the volunteer, deliver food, the breakfast or lunch or whatever else that needed, the need that in this time that they do need to them. Because instead of if you're talking about food, breakfast and lunch at the school, rather than throw away, we can help our homeless populations. And I know that Mary Thomas, director of Homeless Initiative, do a great job. And so of course she needs those help as well to do all those kind of needs that we are looking to do. Not about hiring anybody. New people to do it. Manager know, exactly, the people in the department head know who they can direct to coordinate this effort, with nonprofit and volunteers. So I just throw it out. So if that in time of need that maybe we can give hand as a city.
Thank you, Councilor Noon. I can say, if I can jump in for a minute, from visiting the volunteers that are handing out the food for the lunches, I can tell you personally that they have told me that extra food does go to the different shelters around the town. So they have been doing
That's
that
great.
around the city. Yep.
That's great.
Sure. Any further
Mr.
discussion?
Mayor, yeah,
Yep.
Mr. Mayor, Dave Conway here.
Sure, Dave.
Yeah,
Mr. Conway.
through you to the city manager. Do we have anybody now? I mean, I think it's a good idea. I'm just, do we have anybody that's coordinating those services at this point or filling that gap?
Thank you, Councilor. There is no one with that title or position, but we will certainly look to see if there's a way of looking at people who are working for the city and whether we can somehow cover some of these very, important issues that Councilor Noon has brought up. But Mary Shannon Thomas certainly is working, very hard with the homeless community in and around a number of issues, including the feeding program for the homeless community, similar to the schools, as far as, a grab-and-go sort of feeding program. So we are working on a lot of those because many of those programs that have been feeding the homeless, and I'm only speaking to the homeless issue, because of the new rules, aren't able to have them come in, whether it's a particular church or what have you. But volunteers, we're trying to work to have volunteers be able, if they do make food, to try and have those delivered. So that's an ongoing issue, and we will continue to work hard in that area to make sure people are getting the food and the nutrition that they were getting before the crisis. So that's just one point, and we will look across city government to see if there are others who could play a role as well.
Right. Thank you, Madam Manager.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes. Identify.
Samara.
Thank you, Mr. Councilor Samara.
Thank you. Councilor Noon's motion, it's a good motion, and we understand that the city manager, that how busy you are with and your staff at this particular point. But I think the idea is that, that these nonprofits are a great help to the city, and we need all the help we can in so many different areas during this time. But the thing that I would like to bring out, Madam Manager, maybe at some meetings or, we can put out to public that a lot of these organizations actually need financial support. I think many of them, normally if this was a normal time, they would have their fundraisers and different things like that to raise monies to help our citizens in need. So if there's any way along with this that we can get the word out to the public, I don't know whether on our website, don't forget our nonprofit, they're in a time of need, this type of thing, with your contributions. I don't know if that's the way to go, or we go on the radio and talk on the radio.
Yeah, we can certainly look as to how to put that out, because many of our nonprofits do depend on this time of year for fundraisers that have been canceled and the like, and the good work that they're doing. So they need support.
And the work that you and your staff are doing. The one thing that we don't want to do in making sure we try to meet the needs of all our constituents is to bury you, and not allow you to be able to function in a proper manner. So this is good. It's a good motion, just to, it clarifies roles, I think.
I do have an update from Craig Thomas on the feeding programs. Just Mary Shannon Thomas has been, no relation, has been working with our feeding programs that feed the homeless to a centralized and staffed location. And so what she is telling me is that all the nonprofits with feeding programs are all working together at this point, which is really good news to address the need in our community.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. All those in favor of the motion? 8-3.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, can I just want to go back just quickly to a point that was raised in Natasha. Normally we would have Natasha Vance at the microphone, but in response to Councilor Mercier, the two handicap spots under our ordinance would be only, obviously, if they're warranted, and only if they have at least 40 feet of frontage. So she will investigate the location.
Oh, sure. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. 8-3, Councilor Samaras. Request City Council consider going to a summer schedule for the remaining spring term, seconded by Councilor.
Second.
Who's that?
Rourke.
Councilor Rourke. Thank you. Councilor Samaras?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The whole idea when I made the motion was not to put ourselves at risk or the city manager and her staff. And when I made the motion, there were just a few cases, and basically we could meet. The whole idea was not to have so many meetings where it just created potential problems. The thing is, based on this, now that we have this stay in place, even those meetings might have to be by telephone. Okay, so I'm just suggesting that the one thing is we need to ensure the city manager can do her job with her staff. We know, all of us know, that she's working 24/7 to take us through this, we'll say, perilous time. And the one thing we want to do is be able to give her and her staff the time to do their job. But at the same time, as city council be available to her to support any of her needs. And as we know, that's our role, to support the needs that she will come out with. So the question is, at this point, if we went onto the summer schedule, it would give her time and allow us more time to work within the community as best we can. Right now, we have to stay in place, but I see more benefits from this than anything negative. And if there was a situation where the city manager needed all of us at another meeting, at an earlier meeting, that can be called. And as you know, the state and the governor has relaxed the rules on the open meeting laws and situations like that. So that's basically where I'm coming from. It's just to not put us at risk, or our city manager and the staff, give her time to do her work, at the same time allow us to be able to give the input that's necessary. Thank you.
Thank you. And that would be on the second and the fourth Tuesday of the month.
Correct.
Any feedback? Any council?
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Carl
Sure. Councilor Chow, then Councilor Mercier, then Councilor Drinkwater.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When we all got this agenda, it was Friday, this past week, and the two motions I looked at was a prior motion by Councilor Lowell about going to this telephonic format, and the motion with Councilor Samaras to go bi-weekly. And that was a decision that I really was thinking of making because the information on Friday was a lot different than on Monday when we now switch to telephonic or this type of meeting format. I understand that Madam Manager and her staff, believe me, I've been on the phone with her every single day. She's been very, very helpful. She always called back within 5 minutes. The police department did a great. They've been in touch with every questions that I ever had. They're working very, very hard. And I think the meeting, if we were to have in-person meeting, like we try to arrange the furniture and so forth to be far away from each other, social distancing, I think it kind of makes sense to go every 2 weeks or even like once a month. But I think given the situation that we're now going to telephonic and, the city is pretty much in crisis, where we're not showing faces out there at all. I think, and there's a lot of questions by a lot of residents and the constituents. We're trying to update as much as possible. And Madam Manager, this is not a reflection on your hard work whatsoever. I don't think anybody could have worked harder than you and your team. But as leaders, as elected officials, and this time of crisis, I think, especially when we're having this type of remote meeting, I think it's probably better if we meet once a week to update the residents of what's going on with the city instead of waiting every 2 weeks to get the information. That being said, maybe we can change the format and the requirement a little bit of the meeting agenda. Maybe every councilor be limited to making only one motion, just to limit the amount of paperwork that you and your staff would have to do. That would alleviate some of the running around that we would have to do. I think at this point it's very important for us to share information almost immediately, at the very least weekly. As we all know, the situation really change every day. And every time I wake up in the morning, I just, expecting new things. And I get anxiety just looking at new information and new report from you in the city. So I can't imagine what the residents must be going through, not hearing from us in 1 week, and to extend that time frame of anxiety to 2 weeks. I don't think that would be good for the overall psychology as much, and also the work. If you do, 1 week is a lot of work, but you could limit again to the councilor making only one motion, and have you focus on the more important things and managing the crisis. I think the residents and the constituents would probably feel better just seeing us be at the front line of trying to manage the situation. So I would prefer to have this type of remote meeting once a week. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Mercia?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would not ordinarily support this motion, but under the circumstances, and if anything of significant urgency comes up, plus the fact that we can implement executive order, I do support this motion. In fact, I'm not saying, under the circumstances, we're home, but if you want to put this Zoom thing in to get what we look like, I think LTC is doing a tremendous job with the way that it is and putting that picture there. Because God knows if you put in that Zoom where you're going to come into my kitchen, I might be in my pajamas. You never know that. Which I'm actually not, but I'm just saying the way that it's going right now, I enjoy it for something that we have to do. Is there anybody there that's at City Hall? Is Michael Gary there? I don't know.
Yeah, we're here in our offices.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Yeah. But that's okay, Counselor, in your words, you look marvelous.
Oh, thank you so much. But other than that, I do support this motion for the fact that we're in a crisis, and I don't want to infect anybody or put anybody at risk. So I like the way that the format is right now, and I don't need a camera showing me what I look like right now, because I like the picture they're putting up on the screen. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Councilor Drinkwater?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was certainly prepared to support this motion when we received it last week, when we were all under the assumption that we'd be meeting in person, and I thought it made a lot of sense to whatever extent we could, to limit person-to-person exposure, while still making sure we're informing the public of what's going on. I certainly understand it. I think the idea of making sure that we're allowing the city manager and her staff to focus on responding to this crisis is an important one. That said, I actually, having listened through tonight's meeting, I actually thought the information, particularly the timely information on the public health crisis we're in, was valuable at the beginning of the meeting. People get their information in a number of different ways, and I think that the manager's office has been very effective at getting updated information out through social media, through traditional media. But a lot of people do put it on their calendar to tune in on Tuesday nights to get updates on this. So I think my personal preference would be to continue meeting on a weekly basis to keep the public informed. That said, I do see the arguments either way, but I wanted to add, if we do go to a summer schedule to the second and fourth Tuesday, I believe that would put the next meeting 3 weeks from now. I wanted to suggest that if we do go in the direction of meeting every other week, that we don't meet more than 2 weeks from tonight. So potentially just maybe I would suggest maybe amending the motion to go to an every other week, so that we would be meeting 2 weeks from tonight. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Other councilors?
Yeah,
Mr. Mayor.
Conway, Mr. Mayor?
Sure. Why don't I go Dave Conway and then Councilor Elliott?
Yeah, thank you. When I, after listening tonight with the health experts, I think we can realize that and with all the information that we're consuming in the last few weeks, that we're dealing with a very, very difficult situation. City manager is dealing with it in a lot more in depth than what we have to deal with in each day. And as far as I'm concerned, I think that it's important that the city manager and her team dedicates as much time as possible, because it's not just the virus itself, but it's all the offshoots from that's complicating things. The finances in the city, employee issues and so forth, whether they're going to get paid or not. I think it's a very, very complicated situation, and I'd hate to have the city manager tied down each and every week here, because you do need preparation, needless to say, to get ready for this meeting. And we do have a number of motions. We've seen it in the past, and each motion needs a response from the city manager and the team. Now, I will say that Councilor Drinkwater, I think, makes a good point, and that is every other week, so that we don't miss 3 weeks. I think that would be probably a good amendment to that motion. And also, I agree with the fact that there are people that get information from a city council meeting, but I also think that social media is extremely important today. And if we take that information from the city manager's office, put it on, whether it's on the website or the social media, I think that can be extremely helpful. And I'd be in favor of this motion, and I think it just would give the city manager and her team more time to do what is extremely important, and that's to deal with the crisis that we have in front of us today. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor.
Sorry, I was gonna say Council Rourke, but
Oh, sorry.
my mute was on. Council
Yeah,
Rourke
I
and
know
then
that.
Madam Manager. Council
Council Elliott
Rourke?
was first.
Okay.
I think Council Elliott was next and then me. Thank you.
Oh, Council Elliott, said he was all set, so I was gonna go to Council.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. So we get updates every day, whether it be through our federal, state, or local government. It's in the newspaper. It's on the radio. And I agree. I believe with Councilor Conway that all city departments should be able to put all their efforts towards this to the best of their ability. I would support the motion. And I know there was a 3-week, I guess, absence of meetings between now and the next possible meeting. I think if you look at the next few months going forward with Memorial Day and then maybe the 4th of July, we're going to have a couple of meetings that I think the schedule adjusts to those holidays. So maybe we could just meet next Tuesday and then proceed with the summer schedule. Just my 2 thoughts. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Manager. Oh, Councilor Noon, go ahead.
No, have Madam Manager go first then.
Okay,
This is
Madam
just a quick point from the solicitor. So it's a council rule having it the 2nd and 4th Tuesday for summer session. So it's up to the council. Rather than change the council rule, you could do every other week until summer session, just so we don't have to take up changing council rules. So just a suggestion.
Okay, Councilor Noon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tonight's meeting, it was an important one. We got updated from the managers and her team and Dr. Adam Winston and Joanne Keegan of what's going on and the work they've done, the work that they have done. So any updated information, anything that we got it from them. Councilor Conway and I think Councilor Rourke also mentions that social media. All I would ask that if we go into the summer sessions, that Madam Managers and her team, try to put update information on social media as well as on our website. You have announced our website as lowmass.gov, /coronavirus. And then you have the code red and all those information and phone number as well. So if you continue to do that, and the mayor can, if he wanted to, if there's an urgent meeting that we need to call a meeting, some week we're not supposed to meet, then he can do that. But I think the important information during this crisis, the manager and her team can put it out there. So it does not require us to meet every week and give the manager and her team time to do what she needs to do to address this, to work for our city. So I support the motion. I think it's a step that we need to take for now, because in this time of crisis, we need to really do that. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Elliott.
Yeah, no, I was just going to mention the rule, Mr. Mayor, so I think every other week, rather than go through the process of changing the rule, makes sense. But I concur that nothing is more important at this point in the city, not only today and tomorrow, but the next several weeks and months, than to have the manager and the staff fully focused and dedicated to addressing the issues surrounding the COVID-19. So I normally wouldn't support this, but I think it does make sense. Anything that councilors need to have done or concerns or complaints, I've been working directly with the manager and then and the staff, and the work is continuing and very responsive. So I'm going to support this motion.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Let me hold on one second.
Okay.
I was going to suggest that I'm going to vote in favor of this motion. I was going to suggest that we go to the summer schedule, as the motion says, and, maybe just April 7th would be the end of the state quarantine. We could just have a brief meeting that day, that night, get updates, very short meeting, no motions, get updates on, city issues, and then we would start the, summer schedule. So, any thoughts on that, Madam Manager?
That's perfectly fine. Whatever the council wants, that would work out.
Okay, so, sure, Councilor Chow, and then we'll do a roll call. We just don't want to have everybody speaking double on this again. If you could be
Sure,
brief.
thank you. Sure, thank you, Mr. Mayor. In light of listening to all the councilors, I will change my vote. To me, it wasn't about the hardworking city manager and her staff. There's no one more appreciative of her work, especially this week, than I am. I've been on the phone with her 2-3 times a day to get things done. I was thinking in terms of the constituents and the residents of Lowell that they would like to hear from us, on a weekly basis. But in light of that, everybody supporting this motion to, meet every other week, and maybe we can update the residents in some other way, as the manager mentioned before, through the city website and the website or the Facebook social media itself. I think we can all adjust. So I would change my preference. Thank you.
Okay. So thank you. So I would just make amendment to the motion to have an updated meeting on the 7th.
All we could just, City Clerk, all we could just do the motion as it appears, and then, as you say, under your authority, you could call a special meeting for the 7th, if that's what you want.
That's fine.
We'd just do it.
That's fine.
Okay. All right.
Special meeting that way.
That's fine.
So why don't we do a roll call on the motion?
Mr. Mayor, could you repeat the motion, please?
The motion is,
Motion's gonna stand as presented, and I think what we might do after, just see where we are in the city, we'll do an updated meeting, a special meeting on the 7th for an update, and then we'll continue with the summer schedule.
so the motion before us is going to a summer schedule.
So
Council-
we're not meeting the 31st.
No.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
Council Conway,
Yes.
Council Drinkwater,
Yes.
Council Elliott,
Yes.
Mayor Leahy,
Yes.
Council Mercia,
Yes.
Council Noon,
Yes.
Council Rourke,
Yes.
Council Samaras,
Yes.
Council Chow,
Yes.
9 yeas.
Okay, thank you. 8-4, Councilor Drinkwater, request City Council adopt a resolution in support of HD 4935, an act providing a moratorium on evictions and foreclosures during the COVID-19 emergency. Seconded by Councilor,
Second by Council Noon.
okay, Councilor Noon. Thank you. Councilor Drinkwater.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As we heard through tonight's meeting, we're certainly dealing with a crisis of public health, but we're also dealing with an economic crisis that has many families across the country and certainly here in the city going without paychecks and feeling concerned about paying their bills and keeping a roof over their head. In fact, actually, the state announced that within the last 5 days, they actually received twice as many new unemployment claims than what they received during the worst month of the Great Recession. So what we're dealing with here in terms of economic impact is truly unprecedented. So this legislation filed at the state level would place a moratorium on evictions and foreclosures and related legal proceedings during the declared state of emergency. And that will protect public health just by making sure that we keep vulnerable residents sheltered and keeping them out of shelters where obviously they're in close quarters and poses its own public health risk. So, in addition to individual residents, many small businesses who are suffering as a result of this are tenants as well. And it includes a moratorium on foreclosures, which addresses the issues being faced by landlords. So the motion refers to a bill that was filed in the State House of Representatives I actually spoke with Senator Kennedy earlier today, and he informed me that the state Senate is currently preparing a bill that's very similar to House Docket 4935 for likely action on that this week in the state Senate. And both the Speaker of the House and the Governor have also expressed support for the concept of protecting residents through this sort of moratorium. So I would like to just offer an amendment to the motion to also support the bill being advanced in the state Senate as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilor Samaras.
I just want to express my support for this motion. I think it's a good motion. It's a very timely motion at this particular time. Yes, the House and the Senate are taking this up, but I think this is where the City Council really has its work to show its constituents that we're supportive of their needs. And there are so many needs at this particular time. I think this is an important step at this time. So I just want to thank the House of Drinkwater for the motion at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Why don't we do a quick roll call for this? Councilor Conway.
Yes.
Councilor Drinkwater.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Leahy. Yes. Councilor Mercier.
Yes.
Councilor Noon.
Yes.
Councilor Rourke.
Yes.
Councilor Samaras.
Yes.
Councilor Chow.
Yes.
9 yeas. Thank you. 8-5, Councilor Drinkwater, request city manager update the uniform catastrophic sick bank policy to make employees eligible for up to 30 days of leave due to the COVID-19 infection, quarantine, or isolation as directed by a physician or authorized public health authority, seconded by Councilor Elliott. Councilor Drinkwater.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In speaking on this motion, I just want to take another opportunity to thank the entire city workforce. Certainly, the city manager and her staff who have shown real leadership during this emergency, health department, first responders who risk exposure when responding to certain calls, and all city employees who have ensured that residents are continuing to receive services in spite of very difficult and risky circumstances. So it's really out of recognition for those types of sacrifices that I filed this motion to ensure that if a city employee is exposed to, symptomatic of, or becomes infected with COVID-19, that they do the right and responsible thing by staying out of work to protect their health and the health of others, that they don't have to do so without a paycheck. And, I know the city provides sick leave for all employees, which is certainly a good thing. But given the unprecedented situation that we're in, that's just not going to be enough for many employees, particularly for newer employees who haven't had much of a chance to accrue sick time, and who may have had to use some of their sick time already, whether it be for something like the flu or dealing with the current school closures or daycare closures that we're dealing with. So I know there's been action at the federal level in Congress to guarantee some level of paid time off for all workers, particularly in the private sector during this crisis. The state has been trying to address this through easing access to the unemployment insurance system, and there's also legislation filed to expand the use of paid sick time. So ultimately, what really matters to me here is that city workers receive the time that they need, should they need to take an absence related to the COVID-19 virus. The means by which that happens is sort of secondary here, but in drafting the motion, the thought I had was that by utilizing the city's existing catastrophic sick leave bank was a logical way to achieve that. The bank is typically used for medically necessary absences of 30 days or more. But given the current situation that we're in, I felt it appropriate that the bank could be utilized for leaves shorter than 30 days that are related to COVID-19. And that, in many cases, may mean only a few days just to supplement if workers have depleted the rest of their paid time off. So, certainly, just want to make sure in this situation, as many, governments and private employers are doing, just trying to make sure that workers who are doing the right thing, protecting their health and the public health, do have access to paid time off, so that they don't have to put their own selves at an economic disadvantage by doing the right thing when it comes to public health. So thank you.
Thank you. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
I have a comment.
Sure, Council Mercia.
Thank you. I strongly believe in this motion. I believe that there is a sick bank for city employees, but I think that it's just the fire department employees that have a sick bank pool. I know the importance of that. I donate to the sick bank where I work so that someone in need might be able to use it. I believe that we should have a sick bank for city employees, whether it be for the coronavirus or a sickness in general. There is an employee of over 25 years in the city of Lowell. She came down with brain cancer. She comes to work each and every day. She has depleted all her sick time. If there were a bank, she could probably use it. And my heart is broken for her, who has been a dedicated worker for all these years. So I just really feel that we should look into the possibility to see if, I know that I can't negotiate contracts, but my heart is with people, and this is very important. If people are thinking that someone would take advantage of it, just have the doctor sign a paper stating that what the problem is, and you would see that it would cut down on people that have a problem with trying to, run away with this from the city. But I think legitimate people need this, and I strongly believe this. Thank you, Madam Manager.
The Mayor,
Sure,
Dave Conway.
Councilor Conway.
Yeah, just very quickly, I think this is a very good motion, because I think especially so timely at this point, because you have individuals that, they need peace of mind. We're getting hit from so many different angles, as we've talked about tonight.
Conference recording has stopped.
Hey, Luke?
Yep. Keep
Can
going.
you hear me?
Yep, we got you.
Hello? Okay.
Just keep going, Dave. Make it brief before we shut off.
I will. I'll make it as brief as possible. The fact is, I think it is important. If we take a look at some of the data that comes out, is many people have less than $500 for emergency funds. So I think this is something that is, again, very timely, and I think it's an important motion. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. That was good motion. All those in favor, say aye.
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 One housekeeping vote on 2-2 to cancel the council meeting at 4/21/20. We're going to pull that vote. It's not relevant anymore. Did we have any announcements, Madam Manager, or anyone else?
Yes,
Madam
I have an
Good.
announcement.
Madam Manager first, and then we'll go to the council.
No.
Okay. Councilor Mercia?
Are we on a time constraint here, like we turned into pumpkins who had a certain
Well,
time?
this
and we
is
got
the
off?
first time we're doing it, and some message came up, said we were running.
Yeah, I heard it.
Okay.
All right. I'd just like to say that with the current coronavirus situation, the government will issue money to each person. I just want to alert the public. I feel it is important to say that where there is a crisis, there are people who take advantage of vulnerable, desperate people. I just want to reiterate that no one from the government will call you and ask you for your private information in order to get your check. They're called scammers. No one from the government will call you to say, if you give us some money up front, your check will come sooner. No, it won't. This is a scam. The government would not do that. Anyone that going door to door to offer appointments for the testing of this coronavirus at a small cost, this is a scam. We do not allow that. So I just wanted to say that. Don't be fooled by these scammers and protect yourself. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Councilor Rourke?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And just for the council and the manager to know, my daughter was paying attention tonight, so she is more than willing to volunteer a time to set up a Zoom for the council if we want to be visible for our next meeting. So I think that's what it is.
Awesome.
And also, Madam Manager, quickly, with the census starting, are people in Lowell still going door to door?
I'm not certain, Counselor. I will get back to you on that. I know there was discussion as to what was going to happen. I don't believe they are right now, but as far as what's going to happen in terms of the census, I don't think anything's been determined on that yet.
Great, thank you so much.
Sure.
Thank you. Good meeting. First time out on this. We're very effective, I believe, and thank you for participating. I need a motion to adjourn by Councilor Elliott, second by Councilor Conway. Thank you, everybody.
Great job.
Thank
Great
you.
job
Yeah.
tonight. Thank you. Great
Thank
job.
you.
The moderator has left the conference.